You're listening to the Unpenned Show with Paul and Andy, broadcasting live around the world. We believe freedom is free. It is enslavement that you're paying for. If you ain't mad by now, you're not paying attention.
It is Tuesday, the 15th of January 2013.
Good evening, Paul.
Hello, mate. The theme of tonight's programme is war.
Yes.
W-A-R, war. Because over the past 100 years, we've had more wars on this lovely little blue planet than at any time in all recorded history prior.
Yeah.
292 million people killed by their own governments, excluding war casualties. Isn't that just horrific?
Absolutely horrific.
I claim time and time and time again this language is designed for war and peace. And if you want to argue about it, where are you going to start? Because I have all the proof I need. All the proof I need. That the wars are escalating, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep, we are surrounded by bloodshed. And those who don't read history are not going to realise that whatever your government is prepared to do abroad, in the name of democracy, they'll have no hesitation in bringing it home and doing the same. And the Americans are now starting to get hot, aren't they?
They are.
The frogs are starting to boil. Now, I listen to Alex regular. Do I like Alex Jones? I don't know him. But he puts out some great information which you can check and find to be, what he says it is. I think 9 out of 10 people who listen to Alex, I don't think they actually research. I don't think they check. I think they just decide what they think is true and that'll be fine. But the American government are now preparing to take the guns. They are now actually executive order, don't ask Congress, no vote, no, we're having the guns. After saying they weren't having them, they're having them. And I think that this is the line in the sand for many of the American population. Now, here in England, I don't think we have the ability to understand what guns are. We've never had that culture, have we?
No, we
haven't. We just see guns as something evil. We do, in England, guns are evil and should be kept away from regular people.
Yep.
And because of the way we've been brought up, that's absolutely correct, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
We haven't been brought up with this killing machine available to us.
No, my only recollection of people with guns was in the stories of highwaymen.
That's right.
And that goes back to, 16th, 17th century?
Well, I think we've got some more recent history on what supported the gun claims in this country. We've had a number of Hungerford, Dunblane.
Yes.
A number of
the Whitehaven.
Yes, exactly. And the government has not missed the opportunity to tighten up on the gun laws every single time. Do I think they've done the right thing? Well, I think at the moment our police don't have guns. I know they've got them in the back of the car.
They do.
The number of them have them in the back of the car, but they're not on public show.
No, they're in the boot. Yeah, they're ready.
But they do have these taser things, which I think in the early days we thought they were a bit Star Wars, didn't we? But they're becoming rather more serious now. I mean, these things have got the power to not only knock you down, but the power's been upped. I mean, they can virtually kill you with these things.
Yeah.
So even though we call them tasers and we think they're not guns, they're the closest thing that they need to do this.
Yeah.
But still, our police don't have guns, and I think long may that day remain.
Yeah.
Actually visibly, I mean, I know we've got them in airports. Will they end up on train stations? Will they end up outside shopping centres? I hope not in my lifetime, but I think I might be wrong there. But let's just recap a little bit, because our politicians, they want to disarm us, and like all target populations, they have to be disarmed before enslavement.
Yep.
And we are totally disarmed, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We are an armless, proper armless populace.
Yep.
Now,
you can even get arrested for having a penknife on you.
I know. And they talked about licensing, they call them butcher's knives, but that will be actually, that'll be all sharp knives, won't it?
Yep.
Because what is a butcher's knife? Now, I know butchers use all sorts of knives, because I use knives in what I do, and I use all sorts of different knives to do different jobs. So it'll actually come down to a sharp knife, which means that every business will have to have a sealed box for the knives.
And a licence.
And of course, yeah, a licence which is just a spell of silence.
Yes.
That's right, because remember, this government makes up wonderful rules, and it says that something is illegal until you ask them for permission. Then they'll give you the piece of paper that you pay for, so you can now do it.
Yep.
This is how it works. But going back to the guns thing, we're not allowed to have guns for our safety.
No.
But our politicians are guarded 24 hours a day.
By people with guns.
By armed guards.
Yep. And even after service, after they've done
That's right. So we're not allowed to have guns for our safety, but they have to have guns for their safety. Why? Well, we know why.
We do.
Because they're a bunch of corrupt liars.
Yeah. And somebody out to get them.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. We know politicians are known liars. That is their job, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And over my lifetime now, it's become quite obvious that politicians are not only born, but bred for purpose. They're actually bred to do this job. They are capable of no other job at all.
No.
Even down to tying the shoelaces and driving their own cars. I question whether they can do that. Do they choose their own tie colour? No, they don't. Do they write their own words that they tell us? No, they don't write their own words. Do they make their own decisions? No, because they have to consult advisors, or as they were called, spin doctors.
Yeah.
And really, it is the advisors, the spin doctors, and the real government that you never get the opportunity to throw out. That's who always stays in power. Politicians are nothing more than the stooge, the man in the middle, the target. And when you get sick of his lies and his smile no longer fools you, then they throw that liar out and give you a choice of some more professional liars. And that's politics, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Whether we like it or not, that is the truth. And the internet has given us the opportunity to actually express that truth to many more people, because we've all thought this, suspected this, and, you know, we haven't really... We don't talk about these things. This isn't polite conversation, is it?
No, not
this
really.
This isn't dinner table conversation. I mean, we've been programmed that we don't talk about history because nobody really knows any history. We don't talk about religion because apparently that's not important anymore.
Not anymore.
Which is a crying shame, because religion isn't a big dusty old church at all. We don't talk about politics because it's designed to make us fight. And we don't talk about the monetary system because that's just not done. Not the done thing. You don't talk about money at all. So what do we talk about? And the answer is other people mostly, isn't it?
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly
gossiping about other people.
It's gossip on different levels.
What they've got, where they've been on holiday.
And our opinions.
And, yeah.
Our bloody opinions.
Oh, I wouldn't have gone there.
We don't read anything of importance. We have no access in our daily media services to anything important at all. I mean, the BBC is the BBC, but is it telling you the truth? Well, no. It's telling you a version of the truth that it wants you to believe is the truth. It doesn't really care if you don't believe it's the truth, because all the truth is given to us from two news organisations, both owned by the same people. So we don't have, really, access to a different version of events other than the one that has been given to us. Now, Al-Qaeda is a word that we can find historically has been used for over 30, maybe 40 years. But only over the past 20 years or so has it been used as a terrorist organisation. Prior to that, it was openly funded by the West.
It was.
And it was working for the West's interests. And they were the rebel force that we put in
on the borders.
That's right, yes, that's right.
Of Afghanistan and Pakistan.
That's right. But over the years, Al-Qaeda has been turned against us. Now we're to be frightened of them.
Yeah.
Now they are the terrorists. Yes, they did 9/11. You decide yourself what happened there. All I know is the version of the story that we've got cannot possibly be true. My eyes tell me it cannot possibly be true. But there are so many different versions out there, I don't care to get into a conversation which one may be true, because you can't prove it and I can't prove it. But we know 9/11, there's something wrong with 9/11. Definitely something wrong with it. We know Al-Qaeda's been used to terrorise us, to get our kids' bloody fingerprinting, to take the waste paper bins out of train stations, and generally to terrify the entire population about brown people. Meanwhile, the borders are wide open.
Yep.
Okay, anybody can come in. There's virtually no restrictions at all. Now, those two things don't make sense.
They don't.
So, the countries of empire are up to their old tricks.
They are.
America has never stopped fighting almost continually now, since the Second World War. The UK has been a sleeping partner for most of those occasions, and France is up to its old tricks as well now, isn't it?
It is. France is, and just going back to what you were saying about our borders being open, 170 UK jobs have been touted into
Okay, I don't think you're getting. I'm not getting full steam off you.
into the Europe. I'm switched on. Batteries are on.
Yeah, got you now.
Okay,
Got you now. Yeah,
must be a
bug in the system.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think a bug in the system.
170 jobs have been advertised for immigrant labour. 170,000 jobs, sorry. So, so I can see why we've got nearly 2.5 million people unemployed.
Now you just
in the
missed a bit there,
UK.
because 100,000 jobs have been advertised in the European Union.
Yep,
Vacancies in the UK.
for vacancies. They're just
That's right.
vacancies in the UK.
This is to encourage further immigration into the UK.
Yes,
That's right, because it's to lower wages.
lower wages. Yeah.
Increase poverty by lowering the wages. Okay, we then blame all the brown people for the fact that the NHS is overburdened, all our services are overburdened, and somehow we miss the obvious.
We miss
We
it, yeah.
can't actually do it, can we? We
No.
can't actually put the dots together. But one day we're going to have to, because we're not reproducing ourselves. The Western white people are targeted, okay, for depopulation, because we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
We cannot now reproduce ourselves, and the gaps have been made up by immigration. We think the gaps have been made up because the white people don't want to do the jobs that the coloured people do when they come in. That's not true. That isn't true at all. But Jeremy Kyle says it is, so it is true. But this is how easy it is to fool an entire population, and the benefit queens at the bottom, right? They don't care. They don't care. They've been entirely domesticated, and they actually are quite happy to say, it's the immigrants' fault that I can't get a job. Now, leave me alone. I'm off to have a couple of hours, Kip.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they do. I mean, they're happy to do this because it allows them not to work. I mean, this is a brilliant system that you can actually live comfortably without never having done a day's work. And there be the reason for our downfall. Because to pay people to do nothing will build a society that won't pay for doing nothing.
Doing nothing, yeah.
This is domestication on a national scale. I mean, how do you domesticate something? Well, it's very, very simple. You find out where it lives, and you put food out for it. And you keep putting food out for it. And whatever you want to domesticate, it will eat the food. Now, it will take a while, and it may take the second generation to actually come and still take the food. But that second generation will no longer hunt for a living. The second generation will now come to the food source, and if it's not there, will consider hunting for a living, or will just wait for some food to be... And the third generation won't even be taught how to hunt. Work. Exactly what's happened to us.
Yeah.
3 generations in, we now have a young population who have no idea that hunting is working. They couldn't care less. The young man came in my shop the beginning of last week. Lovely young man, fresh face, clean living young man. Would have been Monday or Tuesday last week. He's doing 12 hours a week in a local supermarket. He's working in the cafe, and he'd mentioned to one of the girls that works for me he would like a few more hours. So he came in the shop last week, and I said to him, I've got a couple of hours. Could you give us maybe a couple of hours twice a week, helping with the washing up? How's that? How are you fixed? Oh, marvellous. That'll be great, he said. Yep, I said, well, pop and see us on Saturday, and we'll get started, and that'll just help me out, because I'm short of a little bit of help with the washing up. Right, he said. Never seen him since. Did he turn up Saturday? No. Is there Tuesday? Yeah. Have I seen him? No, I haven't seen him at all. I haven't, no. We do have a guest this evening, don't we?
We do, yes.
I haven't even started to warm up for our guest.
No.
But our war is what we're talking about this
War,
evening.
yeah.
And we're talking about the last time a British colony was invaded.
It's not a colony, it's territory.
I do apologise.
Yes.
This is going to go well, isn't it? This is going to go really well. But
I
this
made that mistake.
is the invasion of a British territory, the last time it's happened. And we're going to talk to Sam from the Falklands. Sam is a lifelong Falklander. I'll tell you a little bit about the story, how I met him, and how we're speaking to this evening. And why we're here, we will be able to travel 8,000 miles in a mere 2 seconds.
Hello?
Yo, there you are. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you, Paul.
Hello.
You're not getting snowed under?
No, the little flurries over here. Flurries. Feels like a McDonald's already. Sam, a very good evening. Thank you for joining us 8,000 miles away on the far end of the southern rim of this wonderful blue ball.
Nice to hear you nice too. And all the folks listening, I guess that we're live, are we not?
We are live to the world right now, sir, so if you would mind your P's and Q's, I'd be very grateful, and I'm sure you always do. Now, you and I met on a sunny Saturday afternoon in July last year. I was at a wedding and you were on a business trip, but we spent a little time chattering, and after finding out your home, which is the Falkland Islands, and after finding out you spent your entire life there, I said, please, may I have the details to contact you in the future? I was sure we would find a reason to talk. And here we are this evening, 6 months later, doing that very thing. So, let's get started then. The Falkland Islands, 400 miles east of Argentina, 8,000 miles south of the UK. Tell us a little bit about where you live, Sam.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, fine. I live in Port Stanley at the moment. I moved here a few years ago. I used to live in what we call the camp. That's the countryside. I've been a sheep farmer most of my life. Retired from that, came to Stanley and joined the civil service as a marine police officer after the establishment of a fisheries zone. And retired from that a few years ago. And I'm still retired, but still finding plenty to do. What else can I say? Yeah, I was born in 1944.
That's absolutely fine, Sam. Now, I do have my best friend and partner in crime sat in with me, and that is my friend Andy. So I'll introduce him now because I often forget. Start off with the conversation. Andy joins in, and you're thinking like, "Who's this? Who's this?" So,
Good evening, Sam. Nice to hear your voice there.
Hi, good evening to you, Andy.
Good evening. I wanted to ask you, Sam, how old were you when you went out to the Falklands?
no, lifelong, born and bred.
Oh, you were born there?
I'm born and bred, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 generations of my family here now.
Oh, right, as far back as that. Very good. How do we address you then? As a Falklander?
Falkland Islander.
Falkland Islander.
Islanders, yeah, or the nickname is Kelper. That stems from the fact that there's large belts of, seaweed around the Falklands called kelp.
Okay, kelper.
Oh, right, so you're a kelper. Very good.
Right. Okay. Now, I guess after the Second World War, where 1944 is where you start, but the Falkland Islands was really quite a peaceful place. Although the sovereignty of the islands has never really been a comfortable situation with the people, Argentina or England, but it pretty much it's been allowed to be so for a long time. Tell us about when you were growing up, and did you ever feel that you were Argentinian, or did you ever feel that you wanted to be, or what was the focus of the people, or what was it really? Red telephone boxes and green pound notes.
Well, your first bit's your last bit's first, rather. Yes, we do have red telephone boxes here and post boxes. We're British. We're as British as you are. Some people say we're more so, but. Well, up until, I suppose, the 60s, life was very quiet as regard to our neighbours, although in the middle 60s there was a bunch of terrorists hijacked an Argentine plane and landed here. That was in 1966. I happened to be home on England on my... I just got married then, and we went to England. So I missed that one, but
so you missed the biggest event for 30 years, the biggest event of the century almost. Now, tell us, because I mean, you say a bunch of terrorists hijacked an aircraft and landed there. I mean, was this some sort of ransom demand, or was it just what was the reason for that then? Because I haven't picked up that one in my news research.
Yeah, 1966, as I said. You had a bunch of fanatics actually over there. I mean, they all seem to have problems with these sort of people. Excuse me. Those sort of people. They hijacked an internal flight. Not many passengers on it, as far as I remember now, but quite a lot of these hijackers. They forced the pilot to land in Stanley, where there was no airport, no, tarmac landing. It was a big plane, a DC-6 or something, 4-engine piston prop job.
Yep.
They managed to put it down very skillfully on our grass racecourse in the town. All credit to that pilot, but local defence force and the Royal Marines that were here surrounded it, and they wouldn't let them move. We wouldn't give them any water, any food or anything, and after a couple of days they surrendered and packed it in, and so we shipped them back to Argentina.
All right, well, it sounds like all ended safely. There we are.
Oh yeah, there was
Good
no hassles, no guns fired or anything like that.
Now,
there was
tonight's theme,
Sorry?
Tonight's theme of our programme, I'm sure you've probably heard, is the fact that we are surrounded now by never-ending war. And I think that really the actual casualties of war and what really happens in war, we're so, in the West here, especially I think in this country and probably echoed throughout the Western world, we no longer connect real people with war unless we have a son or a daughter involved. It's almost, we've become desensitised to it. It's almost like, well, people get killed and that's the way it is. And we're so used to war now that when we hear these outrageous reports from Syria and Libya and Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the never-ending threat that Iran's under from the West, it's almost like, oh, let's get on with that and give us something else instead. We're so far removed from the evil that war is and really why wars are fought. And the chance to speak to you is, well, I couldn't miss the opportunity, really. So I wonder if you could perhaps lead us, we're moving through the timeline, let's leave 1966 and let's move along to the end of the 70s. And we know that April 82 was the invasion. But talk to us a little bit about before that time, because was it really the surprise that the press here make us feel it was? Was it an absolute, you just didn't know the day before? Or was there more to it than that? Was there a lot of rumbling that perhaps we weren't getting reported here? Was there, did you suspect something was amiss, as it were?
The short answer to that is yes, we did really. We didn't expect an invasion in the manner in which it happened. Mind you, we only had, I think one could say 48 hours notice that it was on the way, that their invasion force had left the Argentine ports heading for the Falklands. But yeah, through the 70s, Argentina was sort of increasing its foothold, if you like. It had built an airstrip here. This comes after an agreement in 1970 with Great Britain that she would provide connections by air with the Falklands and supply fuel. This came about with the withdrawal of our link with Montevideo by a ship, a Royal Mail ship actually, called the RMS Darwin, which was our only connection to the outside world, and that was always via Montevideo in Uruguay, not Argentina. But anyway, the Foreign Office at the time said, yeah, okay, we should accept this offer by Argentina to provide an air service. So then they said, well, we need to build an airport, which they did, a short one, not for great big planes, mind you. F-27s, I think they were, carried about 80 people. That was all right, but of course, with that, they wanted, all sorts of staff, and in those days, of course, in the middle 70s, as time went on, they all started wearing military uniforms, and we thought, something's going to happen here eventually. And, well, it did in 1982. God knows why, but I mean, well, I think the general public knows now. I mean, Argentina's economically was in a hell of a mess. Country was run by a military junta.
It was, yeah. Mr. Galtieri was in charge. It was a military junta, and he was very unpopular, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
In his own country, but
to divert attention from his own problems, he set the invasion force up, and down they came. And I think that's probably why we didn't have a hell of a lot of notice. I mean, the Bass.
But let me get in here, Sam, because we had a mirror of the same problems here in the UK. We had our own military dictator. I believe all politicians are dictators. They work for dictators. That's my opinion. I think the rest is just a puppet show. But Mrs. Thatcher was in charge, and in '81 she was possibly the most hated Prime Minister of the time. She was busy breaking the unions. She was breaking just about every promise she'd made to everybody. She was very, very unpopular. And by the early 1982, I think we could say Galtieri and Thatcher both had their problems at home. And a war, to win it for either of those two, would have been a big boost for the home support.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Certainly, yeah. You know, we're British, and we follow the British news. You know, BBC and whatever in those days. No TV then, but we follow all that avidly. And yeah, I think you're probably right with that assumption. Yes, she was very unpopular at the time, but then Galtieri did what he did, and then she reacted accordingly, or the British government, and thank God the British people acted as they did. And
well, just hang on, because I don't want you to scoot along and miss this, because this is why I've asked you today to be with us. I really want to go into, if I may, and I think everybody will be interested, because I can't find this level of discussion with somebody who was there, who still lives there, who's always lived there. What really happened? Because under cover of darkness, there was a lead force of around about 100 Marines that actually their job was to take Stanley by night time. And they did take Stanley by night time, and they did infiltrate I mean, you had 60-odd Marines, I believe, on duty all the time in the Falklands at that time. And they did overpower those Marines. They did take the governor's house, and they did force them to stand down and fly their flag. Tell me, because I would love to hear the first 24 hours from somebody who was there.
Well, personally, I wasn't, because I was farming in 1982 on the West Falkland. That was about 100 mile away, or 80 actually. But my children were in Stanley at boarding school, and my parents were still alive then, and they were in Stanley. So, no, it started in the early morning, April the 2nd, once we knew they were coming. And yes, they put some of their special forces ashore, and they blew up what we call the Moody Brooks Barracks. That's the Royal Marine Barracks, but thankfully, of course, they were deployed elsewhere down by the beaches, basically just outside of Stanley, since we knew the invasion force was heading for those beaches. I mean, they didn't have many of them, faced with about 5,000 Argentine troops to be brought ashore. It didn't last very long, of course, because they're completely outnumbered, but they did leave their mark. That's our Royal Marines. Nobody was killed on our side in that time, although they did, shall we just say, a lot of damage to the other side, sank a few landing craft, etc., and gradually fought a retreating battle back towards the town from the beaches where the Argentine troops were coming ashore, and eventually sort of centred on Government House. And, well, as you may remember, the governor at the time was Sir Rex Hunt.
Yep.
Very brave man.
I actually have I have a recording of his last message, but unfortunately the quality is so poor, I don't think it's going to come out on this radio programme. But I tell you what I do have. I do have Mrs. Thatcher's address to the nation. And I'd like to, if I may, I'd like you to play a little bit of that. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
This is the Saturday morning address to the nation, 48 hours after the invasion.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the House meets this Saturday to respond to a situation of great gravity. We are here because for the first time for many years, British sovereign territory has been invaded by a foreign power. After several days of rising tension in our relations with Argentina, that country's armed forces attacked the Falkland Islands yesterday and established military control of the islands. Mr. Speaker, yesterday was a day of rumour and counter-rumour. Throughout the day, we had no communication from the government of the Falklands. Indeed, the last message we received was at 21:55 hours on Thursday night, the 1st of April.
Mrs. Thatcher. Now, I know for me to criticise Mrs. Thatcher is probably not going to make me very popular in the islands, because you have a Thatcher Day, is that correct?
Yeah, they do, and there's a Margaret Thatcher Drive, etc. But then all our streets are named after, if they're not prime ministers, they're people from history, governors, etc., etc. So no big deal, really.
No big deal, really. I'm just thinking of a question out loud here. What time of the year is it for you now? Is it sort of summertime?
Yep, it's our summer, and we're having a bit of it today. Temperatures are up, high teens, I suppose, today. It was quite a hot day.
Right, well, we can match the other end of the scale. We're at minus all day and getting colder. But anyway, back to business, because you keep skipping past the details, and I'm so wanting to get these details out that these Marines, their job was to take the port of Stanley, and they did, and to disarm the governor and take over control of the islands, and they did. And they had almost 3 weeks in control until the British got themselves a naval force assembled and pretty much well on the way. What were those 3 weeks like? I mean, you knew the British were coming. What were those 3 weeks like? Can you remember?
Oh, yeah, well, a bit longer than 3 weeks, of course, except, I will interject there, the Special Forces, British ones, were in the Falklands within a couple of weeks, spying out the ground, etc., where's the best place to land, or whatever.
Right.
And quite a lot of locals got to know them, and where they were hiding, etc., and helped them. What was life? Well, after you heard that the radio went silent for overseas, they wouldn't let us use telephones, telexes, nothing, everything like that was closed down. And the radio station eventually was taken over by them. But after, I think it was the second or third day, all these what you call edicts were coming out over the local radio by the Argentines, You will now drive on the other side of the road. Your kids will go to school and they will all learn Spanish as the major language. Well, I think everybody ended up by driving down the middle of the road and didn't send his kids to school.
And what else did you get up to?
Sorry, I did just carry on there. Although I was living in camp, we had the airport in Stanley, the small one, which they then started to use, and helicopters started pottering around out in the countryside. We never actually got a landing, but all the larger sheep stations out in the country were visited, and firearms collected up, most people just hid the damn things and said we didn't have them, and all ham radios and things like that, all forms of communication were confiscated. We only had government HF sets, which only had a 4.5 megahertz, 2 megs, I think it was, fairly short range communication with Stanley, because in 1982 we didn't have a direct telephone link with the town.
Right, okay. Now, I'm sort of led to believe that the actual occupying force was, am I right in thinking that they were the regular army, but the fighters, the ones that were brought in to do the fighting and sent up into the hills, they were sent up into the hills prior to the English arrival. They were many conscripts, many young conscripts. Can you confirm that that would be the truth?
Yes, that was the truth. Their main equivalent to the Royal Marines, I suppose, British Royal Marines or anybody else's Royal Marines, what they call the Brazo Tactical, I think was the name. Mm-hmm. They were their main forefront fighting force. Yeah, they were the first into Stanley, and well, nobody stood a chance here, of course. There was only I suppose, with the FIDF, that's the local defence force of about 100, and about 60 Marines. That came to an obvious conclusion. But then afterwards, yes, it was all conscripts which were flown in by Hercules, thousands, over 11,000, I think, in the end, mostly conscripts. And, yeah, they were literally seemed to be taken out of the schools over there and had a rusty rifle stuck in their hands and told they were going to go and defend the fatherland and ship to the Falklands. I mean, speaking to them, half of them didn't know where the hell they were. And they were sent up into the hills, to protect Stanley, as it were, and one or two larger siege stations. Like there was a whole heap of them put out to a place called Goose Green. Well, you probably heard about that.
Yeah, we've certainly heard about Goose Green. I'll tell you what I wanted to add at this point, if I may, is that some people might be asking, what was it, what made Gualtieri think that we wouldn't be bothered? And the fact of the matter is that at the time was broadcast the fact that Gualtieri just didn't think we would come all that way and defend the islands. And nothing else was added to that statement until very recently, actually. It was just last year. And the US military, the US military top brass, the CIA chief, retired now, I must say. They always speak after they've retired, don't they? But going back last year, the US may have accidentally helped to start the Falklands War by encouraging Argentinians to invade the islands, admits the ex-CIA chief William Casey. Now, when these people speak in this sort of vague and slightly questionable language, you can almost reword that and say the US misled the Argentinians that they wouldn't be bothered about defending the Falklands so that they could go ahead without fear of retribution. And that's what that's a signal the US had sent to Argentina, and Gualtieri felt that without the US's help, we wouldn't come all that way. But we did. They didn't bank on the Iron Lady, because the lady wasn't for turning, as she said more than once. And she was going to fight that war, although they never do send her on, and they never actually go themselves anymore. But she was going to make sure that Britain fought that war no matter what it took. And I suppose in many ways it was the right thing to do. I mean, it's an island of 2,800 people now, maybe slightly less all those years ago. But I'm with you on this. You're as British as I am. And if Britain wants to claim sovereignty of the Falklands, then it must defend it with everything it has. And I'm glad they did, actually. I am glad they did. Now, you guys are going to have a referendum in March this year, and you're going to be given the choice to remain as it is or to change to what? What is the referendum offering you? Is it to remain British, or what is the alternative you've been offered?
To become Argentine, basically.
As
far as we're all concerned, it's a joke. But, I mean, it's got to be done so the rest of the world knows just how we feel about the whole situation. I mean, we are British. This is British sovereign territory. And basically, end of story on that one now.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I thought, is there any point to this referendum, or is it just a paper exercise to confirm your position at a regular interval? Is that all it really is? Just to confirm for the record, as it were, that you're happy with things as they are?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Yes, but it is good PR for us around the world. I mean, there's a lot of people, millions and millions of people who don't even know where the Falklands are. They probably think it's in the north of Scotland somewhere. But it's just
I've heard that
confirm
before.
What we are and where we are and how we want to stay and how we want to develop. And that's it, in a normal, peaceful manner, like any other country.
Marvellous, marvellous. Well, let's move on from the war then, because after that wonderful, the wonderful day when they actually surrendered. I mean, that must have been some day. That must have been a day a day like no other in a lifetime for someone like yourself, because you weren't sure if you were going to get, what's the word, repatriated, as it were. You weren't convinced, or were you convinced at all times that you would see this through as Brits and we would win? Did you always think that way? Or did you sometimes feel you could lose?
Never. That never crossed our minds, anybody's minds. No, Britain was there. She was coming down. The Royal Navy were there. The Merchant Navy was there. Oh, damn it, the British people were there. And, the old lion may have been sleeping in those days, but just watch out when you step on his tail, because he bites. When he bites, it hurts. Now,
there's something that I've remembered that we were chatting about, like that Saturday afternoon in July, and we were talking about the weapons in use at the time, and you said about the Argentinian weapons, and I can't quite remember the words that you said, but it went along the lines of it was the British that sold them the weapons, and did you say that some of them didn't work? Or did you say something else? I can't quite remember.
Don't quite recall having said that.
I think it was something along...
They had a lot of... they had French and American... Well, I mean, they had French Mirage aircraft. They're the ones that did most damage, actually, sinking the ships at sea.
I'm sort of thinking... My memory tells me it might have been the submarine missiles. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Something along the lines of, we sold them a lot of them, the actual military equipment that they wanted. We sold them a lot of the fighting equipment they wanted, and then years later we obviously get them to use it in a war against us.
Oh yeah, that has happened in the past with trade, but if I get into hot territory here, but I mean, this day and age that goes on all the time. I mean, that's why some countries like it when there's a war somewhere else. They probably self-start it so they can sell ready firearms, planes and tanks and all the nasty whiz-bangs that go with it.
I'm I'm convinced you're right. That is the new economy. I think if you can't see that is the new world economy, then we're not really looking properly. There is no economy in the West nowadays. There is no... Everything's been moved east, The empire always moves from east to west over a longer over 2,000 and 3,000 year periods. And the Western economy is built currently on war. Anyway, let's move forward a little bit. The peace and tranquility of the Falklands returns, and after the Brits leave and obviously bolster the forces that are left behind, many years go by where the Falkland Islands never comes into the conversation at this northern hemisphere. But now you're back in the newspapers, and you have been for the past 3 or 4 years. But this time primarily on the resources that may or may not exist off the coast of the islands.
Yeah, you're right there, Paul. Well, I'll start off firstly with fisheries. I mean, this was after 82, obviously in 83, 84, and then we had declared our own 200-mile economic zone, same with South Georgia and the South Shetlands, which are all British sovereign territory, claimed, might add, by our neighbours, which, like the Falklands, they've got absolutely no claim to at all. It's just greed, I guess. Well, I mean, they claim half the Antarctic as well, but there you go. They're always sticking up 2 fingers to any treaty, seems to be these days. But we've got a very lucrative fisheries business going on around the Falklands. It's mainly Spanish and Orientals, Japanese, Chinese, and Taiwanese coming here after squid. Unfortunately, now there's no British ships down here, but then the old British North Sea trawler and the cod trawlers have long gone, I guess. It's a great shame, really, but there we go. And then, of course, there's the potential now for oil. I mean, all the signs were here actually in the 60s. An American company with a couple of ships came down and did some seismic work here and more down south, I think, towards the Antarctic. And their view then was that yes, the rock stratas around the Falklands offshore were the oil-bearing, gas-bearing type. Now that all went quiet until 2000 onward, and things really started to hot up with seismic boats coming down, doing a proper thorough job, and some big finds there. And that's where we are at the moment. We've had oil rigs coming and probing and finding. Things are going quiet at the moment because we're now gearing up to the exploitation stage. They've got to come back down again with all the appropriate gear and put wellheads on the bottom and start pumping it out, I guess. But this will all take time. We've got oil ports to consider building and all the associated infrastructure that will go in with it. I mean, house building, accommodation blocks, you name it. A bit like Aberdeen, I suppose, in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, I was just reading up on information before I came out, and the British Geological Survey has estimated there's about 60 billion barrels of oil that could get out of the Falkland Islands there.
Yep, that's about right.
Yeah, and I was trying to imagine 60 billion, and I thought these numbers are just too big for me to comprehend. And then I looked at what a billion was, and a billion is actually 1,000 million. So that sort of puts it into context.
In today's numbers, 60 billion barrels using the benchmark of $100.
Yeah,
$6 trillion.
$6 trillion.
That's $6 trillion. So that's 6 million billion. I don't know how many knots it is, but it'll be an awful lot of knots. So I would say anybody at work who's got enough money and a British passport to jump on a plane, if you've got some trade or some trade in the future, some drilling trade or plumbing type trade. In the next 12 months, get yourself over to the Falklands, because I think you guys have got a rosy future if you can secure the rights. Am I correct?
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah, I mean, my mind, it's just mind-boggling when they talk about all these fancy figures. There's just a whole lot of zeros as far as I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously things will change. I don't know for the better or not. I mean, I'm quite happy with the life I've had. I'd live it all again, but I don't know. You've got to move with the times, and how long will it last? I mean, look at North Sea oil. How long did that last? Well, I mean, it's still there to a point, but it's tapering off.
So
we've had delegations going to. We just had a recent one from our local council. Went to visit Norway, just to see, because that's obviously one of the wealthiest small nations in Europe now, 5 million of them, I believe. I mean, that's pretty big compared with us. But we went to talk to them to see how they manage the finances and their economy, how it's affected their economy, rather, and their standards of living, blah, 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 and how they did it and what they invested in, etc., etc. And we also, of course, went to the Shetlands for that very same reason, because, I mean, well, the Shetlands certainly was more important because it's a little like us, it's a little bit of Britain, and that's got oil coming ashore. So, okay, pal, what did you do, and what do you get out of it, and how do you handle it?
Yeah, well, I actually met you that Saturday afternoon. You're on business. You're on tourist business on that Saturday afternoon. You were inviting the cruise liners to include the Falklands on the stopping off point to say hello. Was that what you were doing?
The other day, yes. Yeah, no. I mean, tourist industry, quite a good one here now. I mean, our illustrious neighbours have been trying to stall it by not.
Yeah, I've read that news story. Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it hasn't worked. It's backfired now because all the big tourist companies have decided to give our neighbours a miss, but they're still coming here. So.
Marvellous.
That's good news. Good news for us, but it's not very. In all fairness, it's not very good news to the poor tourist industry in Argentina. I don't wish them any ill, but they should be doing something about it with their own government.
Yep, that's where the pressure needs to be applied to the people who pretend to be servants but make all the rules and follow none of them. I'll guess you actually get a lot of the tourists, I guess, must be the Brits, and it must be the soldiers or the soldiers' families coming back to relive that memory so it doesn't fade, and they can pass on the horrors of war to make sure that we understand the full implication at a personal level of what war can do to a family, to an individual, and how your life is never the same again once you've actually been to war. And I would think you meet a lot of those families, especially around Port Stanley.
Oh, yes, we do. We've got the South Atlantic Association down here, and we've got a hostel set up we've built down here just for visiting veterans. And, we get hundreds of them down I say hundreds, large numbers of them every year when they can get a flight, an affordable one, etc. And, they're more than welcome whenever, throughout the year. It's just great to see them. And
I'll bet it is. And I bet they're very...
It's really good to have those people. But no, our major tourism source is we get a lot of people flying in, either from the UK on the air bridge, or they come by the Chilean national airline, is our only link with South America, and that comes in once a week, and that brings a lot of tourists in that stay, they might stay a week, they might stay a couple of weeks, and then they travel around all the wildlife centres and lodges and self-catering places. And then we get the big cruise liners, the great big ones like the Star Princess, carries a couple of thousand passengers. Mind you, Stanley sort of sinks a metre into the water when they all come ashore, but we really enjoy that. They all go on, want to go on cross-country tours. That's, off-roading in Land Rovers and Toyotas, etc. And basically that's what I was doing the other day. Both my wife and I are involved in that. So's everybody else has got a 4x4, because there are not very many of us, but there's an awful lot of tourists come ashore wanting to see penguins.
Let me tell you, you've actually, this interview, regardless of what anybody else thinks, this interview's got me thinking, when I'm done in Britain, right? Yeah. When I'm done in this country, I might just want to go live on a little bit of England that isn't in as much trouble as this part is. Because this nation here, in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in so much trouble financially. You would not... I don't care to tell you how ridiculous the situation's getting with the politicians, with the debt, with the measures they're taking to try and recover this debt. It's becoming farcical, but it's not funny because of the abuse that it's causing throughout societies and families. It's horrible. But let's finish on a lighter note. And let's go along the lines of last week, when I thought I'm going to contact Sam, our wonderful newspapers, which should be renamed Horror Stories in my opinion, but our wonderful newspapers were saying the Argentinians are kicking up a fuss again, we're getting ready to send troops, we could be at war. They were all building it up last week, and then I spoke to you on Sunday on Skype, and I said, shall we talk about the build-up, and are we going to get another sort of conflict going to flare up? And you said, "What a load of rubbish." So tell us where all that's come from.
Well, it's speculation and journalism. After the, some of the, I'll go back to tourism. You see, and one of the reasons why some of these big shipping companies have jacked Argentina is some fanatics, whether they're government-sponsored ones or not. You never know these days what the hell goes on internally in that country. But some fanatics broke into and damaged tourist offices, shipping offices, etc., in Buenos Aires, and threatened to do the same in all the ports that these cruise liners called into. And the cruise liners naturally wanted some sort of form of security that A, this wouldn't happen, and B, they wanted security for their passengers, whatever nationality they were, tourists, that is. And there was dead silence from the Argentine government, apparently. There was no reply to that. So, in all fairness to the cruise companies, you think, I'm just not going to go there. End of story. And that's where that sort of trouble came from. I forgot what else you asked me then. I was looking up some notes.
I think you covered it there, Sam. I think you said that it's a load of nonsense, really, just a load of hype. What I wanted to ask you, when I was doing a little bit of research, I don't know if you knew, but it's only owned, the Falklands Islands are owned by de facto. And de facto is spelt D-E on its own, and then facto, F-A-C-T-O. F-A-C-T-O. So it's owned by de facto, and that means it's existing not by law, but in reality, whether it's legally recognised or not. And I didn't know whether you were aware that that's how it's officially worded.
Yeah, it may be worded that way, Paul, but it's, well, as far as we're concerned, it was discovered by a Brit. It was declared as part of Britain by a Brit.
It was, yes.
Well, please, what else do we need?
I know, you don't know. You don't need... this is it. It was just... I just thought, well, it just leaves a little bit of a grey area in my mind, that was all. I thought... Because when I look back on the history as well, it has been owned by... It was owned by the French, then it was owned by the Spanish... Then we owned it. Then we had the Argentinian invasion, and that's the short April to June, I think it said, in '82 when they actually invaded, and then it's back under the British again. But you do have a diverse community there as well, aren't there? There's British, Spanish, Japanese, and Chilean there, aren't there?
No. There are some Chilean families here, and they're mixing in very well. No Japanese. No,
there's no Japanese. Oh, that must.
Tied up with, you're thinking of the fishing fleets. That must be. It's all offshore fishing, and all they do is come in and buy a license and go
I
get
see.
on with the job.
Oh, that's probably where they've got the Japanese bit from then. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, the main influx of people, because things are developing now, awful lot of building and construction work, etc., going on, and will be a lot more with deep water ports to be built, etc.
Of course, yeah. That's
a lot of them at the moment since 1982, a lot of them came from St Helena, the island where Napoleon was incarcerated. That's British territory. I mean, there was 5,000-6,000 St Helenians there, but they were basically paid for by the British taxpayer to stay there. Not an awful lot for them to do there, so it was a good source of labour for us, and of course it did relieve the pressure on the St Helenian government a bit, for people to go and earn some proper money overseas. So a lot of them have come here and have settled, mixed in well, and enjoying life. I mean, their eyes are cast back towards St Helena now, a lot of them, of course, because Britain's building, South African company are building it, but I mean, there's a big airport being built on St Helena, which is, I think, for the South Atlantic Islands, us included, is very good news, because it'll be an all-civilian airport, and it'll be another good worldwide connection by air. We can fly from here to St Helena in about 6 hours, and then from there, the world's your oyster.
Yep.
Great stuff, absolutely fantastic. Well, Sam, it has been an absolute pleasure, and should there be any more kick-off in the Falklands, I will be phoning you back as quickly as I can. But I'm delighted to hear that peace has been restored. The rumours are just a factory that does what it does all day, and the squabbles between governments and businesses carry on as they always have done. But if anybody is struggling in the UK and doesn't want to go live in Aberdeen and work on the rigs, I know where you could go.
Yeah.
It's a 50-mile square island with another one just north of it, I think. And the people are lovely, and it's got some history that is just a little bit of Britain. And
there are jobs available. I looked online. There are some jobs out there.
So, Sam,
can I just interject there? You said 50 square miles. It's 4,700 square miles. Almost the size of Wales is our land mass.
I do apologise. 50 miles from one end to the other is what I meant. That's what I meant. 50 miles from one end to the other.
It's about 100 miles if you go from the easterly piece of East Falklands to the westerly piece of West Falklands. But we're quite a big landmass when you squeeze us all together.
Marvellous. Sam, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And just thanks for everybody listening. It's been great, 8,000 miles, and it sounds like you're sat next to me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and good night to Yorkshire, and I hope it doesn't freeze for too long.
Thank you, Sam. Good night.
Bye-bye. Right, okay, there we are then. There we are. So a little bit of the Falklands.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit of the Falklands. We've nothing to worry about by the sounds of it.
No.
And they just need some people to go and help out with the massive building projects. Because I know they want to build a big commercial port so they can take the big ships comfortably, more than one. I know they want to be part of the cruise liner route, a stopping point. And that's going to bring all sorts of commercial trade and tourism.
It is, yeah. And it's worrying to know that the South Africans are investing money there, though, as well.
Why are you worried?
Well,
why are you worried?
They've got the money to invest, I suppose.
Why are you worried about? Do you think South Africa is more violent or less violent statistically than this country? Is it more violent or less violent statistically?
You
guess it.
I would say the.
Is it yes or no?
It'd be yes. You would think South Africa would be more.
It's not. We are back, and I'm going to start with a quote from Mr. Orwell. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Every generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it, and wiser than the one that comes after it. Isn't that the truth?
It is, yeah.
Isn't that where we're sat today? We look at our parents and we think we know more than you do. And we look at the ones behind us and make a grave mistake.
We do.
That we were there once. We were there once. And are we going to kid ourselves that we know more than the generation above and the generation below?
No.
No. But many people are, aren't they?
They are, I think, yeah.
And I've got a question to ask to those people who actually believe that what we've just spoken about is true for them. I've got a question. Why is the intelligentsia not speaking out? Why, in this group, this band of rebels, why do we only have the people at the bottom? Where are the rest?
Yeah.
Now, you can say it's because they haven't fallen yet, because they haven't lost yet, because they haven't had to experience what we have to experience. I don't quite believe it.
No, me neither.
I don't quite believe that myself. I think it's because they understand a little bit different to us. That this is part of a cycle. And whether we like it or not, we're not in charge of where it's going. We're along for the ride, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
This is a magic roundabout that we can't get off.
We can't get off,
no. No, we can't get off it. Now, you can get off it if you really try. But that's where you go live in a tent in the woods.
Yeah.
I don't choose to live in the tent in the woods. Because I think the intelligentsia, the people above us, the people who we see on television, who perhaps call themselves experts. Now, I know there is an old saying, there's experts that know, and there's experts that don't know, and there's experts that don't know they don't know. I understand that. But I'm not going to go along with the fact that everybody above us is ignorant to the truth. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. No, I'm not. In my own lifetime, my own aunties and uncles, I now am old enough to see that they knew the game. And they engineered life and learnt how to play, and they also put their kids to the right schools so they could learn the lessons of how to play as well.
Yeah.
So, no, this isn't selective. It is selective knowledge, but it's not exclusive to us. It's not at all. We just actually translate it in a way that makes us feel like we're the victims. And we're not, unless we want to be. You don't have to be a victim unless you're happy being a victim. And if you're happy being a victim, you'll moan and groan all day that your problems are somebody else's fault and not your own. And I don't think that's the way to get out of this, do you?
No.
I don't think that's going to fix it. I think you have to save yourself. And I couldn't make it clearer that I think the internet is the global village. I think it is collectivism. I think it's where they want us all, and I cannot see anything to put me off that train of thought. This is, and no matter whether you like it in this global village or not, and there are many people in this band of rebels, I've stopped calling it Truth Movement because, believe me, I don't think they would recognise it if it ran over them. There are many people in this band of rebels who see the internet as their friend. And I don't think it really is. I think this is the dodgy-looking guy with the van parked just down the road from the playground saying, come and have a look in here and see what I've got. I think the internet is, in many ways, doing that to an awful lot of people. And it looks like a fantastic playground. But it's not a fairground, is it?
No.
It's a playground. And all these games in the playground are engineered for us to play, but never win.
Yep.
I mean, I marvel at people who gamble online. Yeah. I mean, I marvel at those people. because in the old animal kingdom, in the jungle that we live called reality, it's not reality. Well, it's the one you can touch, taste, feel, and smell. It is what it is, whatever you do. But in the jungle that we call reality, we understood what the fruit machines were for.
Yeah.
We understood the programming, the fruit machines, the reward, the fruit. We understood that this is the playing for your dinner. That's why all the fruit and that comes up, because you're winning. That's sort of the silly symbolism of the fruit. And you knew that machine was programmed to beat you. But it wasn't programmed that you couldn't. I couldn't do it, but some people could work out how to beat it, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Some people could actually work out the logarithm, or whatever it is they called it, algorithm, and they could beat it. I don't think you can do that online. I don't think so. Now, I do know that poker is a massive, massive addiction for many people online, and I understand that you go. I've never played. You can tell. You go to these sites. And you register, and you get a free something to play with, which is nothing because it's theirs, just like fiat currency. Anyway, they give you something to play with to start with, and then when you lose, you have to buy some more. But that's the way it goes in poker. And you sit down at a table of avatars, and you're one of the avatars. So you automatically assume that there is somebody sat at their house doing exactly the same as you are to make up the other 4 or 5 avatars. What on earth makes you think that? Why would you think that? What happens if the other 4 or 5 avatars are computer-generated opponents and you're the only one with the money?
Yeah.
And what happens, if they're playing with computer-generated nothing?
Yeah. And you're playing with
and
real
you're
money.
playing with the real stuff?
Yeah.
Because I can't prove that's happening. I'm not even going to endeavour to try. But I know if I was running a poker site in the land of corruption, that's what I would like to build. Yeah, that's what I would like to build.
And if you can think that way,
we've always. If we can think it, they're probably doing it. So it is a little bit unfortunate that we have got a society now who no longer want to invent, discover, explore, create, build,
engineer,
write, engineer, design. They'd rather just win it.
Yeah.
They put their whole lives on winning it. And they believe when they've bought the ticket, it might be them.
It might be you.
And how many years before you realise it's probably never going to be you? Because this is a game of hope, isn't it?
Yep.
This is the never-ending game of hope, which should be called desperation.
Or a dope.
Rope-a-dope, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what's the saying in the game of poker? If you can't work out who the mug is, it's you.
It's you.
It's you. So I do feel, I mean, it's awful because it sounds like we're picking on people. But we're not. All we do is discuss what we see, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I know the miseducation system in the slave training camps that are prisons for little people, they are designed. I know they're designed to fill us full of things that we don't need, but entertain us along the way. I know that. So you finish school at 16 and you say to the kids, what can you do? And they don't know what to say. They don't know. And they say, I'm going to go for further slave training, but I'm going to have to pay for this bit. So the bit that I actually needed, that I didn't get in the first 11 years in the camp, concentrate camp, I'm going to have to go pay for the actual, what I do need to try and get a job. 56 applications per graduate vacancy is the current stats. 56 for every one graduate vacancy. And these kids are queuing up to get themselves into at least 40 grand's worth of debt.
Yeah.
I don't think people have figured out the house market is done.
No.
The house market is finished. There is no house market. There will be no house market. I don't care what the horror stories say. I don't care what the North, East, West and South papers say. There is going to be no house market.
Well, they said that bubble's burst.
Exactly, because there is no first-time buyer. If there is no first-time buyer, there is no ladder to climb up.
No.
So all that happens is the people on certain rungs of the ladder will be swapping ladders. But there is no up. Okay, there is no updraft at all. There's no money coming up from the bottom. And with 40 grand's worth of debt, and I think I said that last, what was it, 20 quid a week for 40 years?
Yeah.
Or 40 quid a week for 20 years, or 80 quid a week for 10. And when you give those figures to the kids, you can see their face is like, really? Is it that much? Is it really? 80 quid a week for 10, it's really? And they think that they're going to earn thousands. And I wish them well, I hope they do. Because you have no idea how much I want the younger generation to be successful. Because without that younger generation being successful, there is no future. We can pretend, but there is no future. At the moment, the future is building bombs, isn't it? Bombs and bullets and tanks and missiles. And that is the Western economy. America is still living off that economy. And is it going to slow down? Well, for the last 100 years, it's been on accelerating.
It has been on the increase,
It's been accelerating faster and faster, more and more, worse and worse and worse. France is now getting in on the act, aren't they? They're having a good crack at Mali.
Yeah.
And they're blaming, who are they blaming?
Pop at
Who
Mali.
are they blaming?
Al-Qaeda
Al-Qaeda.
again.
Al-Qaeda is now the
Al-Qaeda.
enemy. It's the enemy over there. It's the friend in Syria. It's the enemy in... No, it's the friend in Libya. No, it's the enemy... Well, it's one or the other in Libya. It depends which newspaper you read. And they're not growing the opium, but they were growing the opium, but they aren't growing. But where's the opium? 93% from Afghanistan. Who's growing the opium? Well, if we didn't grow it, they would. So we'll grow it. We're falling fast, aren't we? We are falling fast. I don't think common sense is now available.
No.
That sixth sense called common sense has gone.
And if I were French anyway, I'd be asking the question. I think they are up to 3 million unemployed in France now. I think they're hovering over 3 million unemployed.
Well, I think I know that over 9.3 million people between 16 and 64 in this country do not work.
No.
Now, yes, there are loads of reasons why they don't. Some quite simply because they don't have to. They can afford not to. Very small numbers.
Yeah.
The rest aren't working for other reasons. Now, let's not argue what the reasons are, but let's accept that over 8 million people are receiving benefits directly for not working. But the figure is under 2.5 million. And it's level and staying level. And the fact that Jessops have gone, HMV have gone, Comet have gone, the fact that the high street has been decimated, the fact that we're all shopping on the internet, still people think everything's okay.
It's going to be okay.
And it's not going to be okay.
Nope.
Now, I know last week we promised not to ruin people's year, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
That was last week.
We're over that now.
The high street is going to get decimated. How do I know? Because it's already happening.
There's more charity shops in our little town.
The bring and buy shops,
yeah.
The bring and buy shops, exactly. And a lot of they're run by lovely people.
They are.
But most people don't realise that the van drivers get the best stuff.
And the charity shops are now starting to sell new stuff.
It is going to work along the lines of... Well, basically, they don't pay anything for staff. I don't believe they pay business rates.
They don't,
They
apparently.
don't pay for stock.
No.
It's like being a bank,
It's
isn't it?
like being a bank, yeah.
It's like being a bank.
It's been like being a bank, but with proper stuff that you can actually touch and see.
Because they don't pay for stock either.
No, they don't.
It's madness. billions of pounds have been pumped into the banks. Where is it? Don't know. Don't know. They promised to lend it to us and then paid themselves mega bonuses for losing money. And somehow that's okay. Well, it's not okay, but what can we do about it? What are you doing? You keep playing this stupid Punch and Judy game. This is Punch and Judy. It's called the House of Pain. Yeah, the House of Bloody Lying Commoners. The House of Pain. And they make us jump around to their bloody music. And still, we don't get it.
We don't get it, no.
But we do get it, but we don't get it. Is it Stockholm Syndrome? Is that the word
yes,
I wanted?
It is, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was thinking, am I right?
Where you...
You know that you've been abused. But you somehow keep going back
for more.
Because this is the only place you get fed.
Yeah.
You don't think anybody else is going to feed you. You never think of doing it for yourself.
You stick in with what you know where you...
I mean, we were chattering before. We were chatting before we came on, and we said, I mean, we look at this system from every angle, and it sounds like we support one way or another, and we don't. We don't support what we've got, but getting out of it is going to be very, very difficult. Because it's too entrenched into the psyche of people who are living. Questionably, are they alive or are they just living dead? Well, the zombie thing has been around for a while now, and it's going to get pushed and pushed and pushed.
It's getting pushed further and further. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've got another conversation there that I'm not going with. But what I'm trying to say is that what we have today, this hierarchical control system, people say, well, and I've said it myself, it exists in nature. It encourages us to challenge ourselves, and for the strongest and you know, obviously the most intelligent will come through. And I'm starting to think, no, because I don't support the Darwin theory.
No.
But here I am almost spouting it.
Yeah, there's a double-edged sword.
So I'm getting myself into a mess here.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe Darwin's theory. I've read his great-grandson's book, The Next Million Years, written in 1952. And they openly talk about controlling us by chemically controlling us. They openly talk about slavery has always been here, and we actually we picture the future in 200 and 300 year jumps. So we try and decide where we want to be in that period of time, and then make plans and adjust them as we go. But we always have our end goal to actually achieve, and that's where I understand that the word impossible comes from, because they've already figured out that at this moment in time of evolution, anything we want to do, we have managed to do it. If we can think it, we can actually really do it. We have to have the will and desire, and the support of many others to do it. But if we can think we can do it, then it becomes I'm possible. It's only the viewer who decides his ability as whether he can do it. So when people say it's impossible, it's because they can't do it. It's not because it can't be done.
Can't be done, no.
That's right. Well, they take that to the next level. If they can think it, they actually have decided that if we can think it, then we're meant to think it, which means we have the ability over time to make it reality. And that's a lot of how I'm starting to see it. That this is not a natural habitat that we're living in. It's confined, it's controlled. It was here before we were born. Our parents indoctrinated us with how to get along.
Yeah.
We were taught the simple... We have mama, dad and baba, or baby. Mum, dad and baby. Those are the first three words that a baby ever says, which is why we use them. Mama is number one, or baba is number one, and by moving the lips or bouncing the tongue off the top of the roof of your mouth, you get dada. And those are the three words that babies practice because they watch us. Anyway, I digress. Those words exist almost identically in every language across the planet, because that's what babies say by design. The rest is indoctrination. The rest is, this is what this is and this is how we use it. This is what this is called and that's how we use it. This is how we do this. And because the parents don't know why, it's just the way it is and this is how we succeed, the kids never get taught to question this is how it's done. So we cannot actually sit down and have a conversation of what is achievable. Now, I know lots of people in the band of rebels do talk about the systems that we can create, but we can only create those in our heads. We can't create those in reality, because we have to persuade those that are here that this is a better way.
Yeah.
Remember, the word is per, which is each, and swayed, which is to lean towards or to move towards.
Move towards.
So persuade is exactly as it sounds. And they are the persuaders. They're the persuaders. And we do. We do. They persuade us that this is the way we want to go. And they're persuading us into this virtual reality. We are being edged into it, whether we like it or not. And because everybody is in here, I'm of the mind, the crowd's never right, are they?
No.
The crowd is usually always wrong. And I'm starting to really not actually enjoy the internet at all. Love doing the show, hate messing about with it any other time. How about you?
Yeah, I must admit I'm not on it as much as I used to be.
Well, you say Facebook for what it is.
Yes.
Which is just the ability to fight without anonymously.
Yeah.
This is punching in the dark, isn't it?
Yeah, just a place to go and argue.
I mean, how many times have we invited people off Facebook? Not now, but we used to. We invited people off Facebook to come and say hello and join in, and no, these are just type-in terrorists, aren't they? That's all they are. They enjoy being type-in terrorists. The fight to be right with nothing more than a newspaper article or an opinion.
Yeah.
I think that everything that's around us, possibly, is counterfeit.
Without a doubt, in my mind.
I think it is. It's so far gone now that I think it's all counterfeit to some extent. I've said before, I think the truth is in the films and the fiction's in the news. And when we spoke to Sam earlier from the Falklands, we didn't get into the details of the war. Two or three times I tried to get him into but he didn't go into the details. So whether he was perhaps a little bit further away and didn't, I don't know. But I do have a friend, one particular friend, and I won't give away too many details, but he has shared his experience of retaking Goose Green. It was, and it was done under cover of darkness, silence, and no guns, because this was an elite squad that couldn't announce their arrival with guns. These people were killing with knives.
Knives, yeah.
Yeah, they were taking them out with knives because they didn't want to announce that they were all over. You know, these were silent assassins. And I know one.
I was at school at the time, and I had pals that were a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
I won't mention the names, but they were two twins, and they went out there. And I remember we were sat in the pub, and he was reliving it as though it was yesterday after they'd come back, and he was in the infantry, so they were in the trenches. They were the cannon fodder.
And why is it called infantry? Because that's where the children go. They put the children up the front. They go first.
They do, yeah.
The children always go on the front lines.
And that's it.
And why do we have this with the word soldier? Soldier. What's it sound like?
Soldier.
Sold you.
Sold you,
Sold you. But let's look again. What's it start with? Sol, which is sun, which is light. And then die or dire. Well, we know die or dire is to be dark or dead. Yeah?
Yeah.
Lights out, soldier.
Lights out, soldier, yeah.
Lights out, soldier. It actually works out as shilling, actually. King's shilling, I think.
The King's shilling, yeah.
I think so. When you actually decode it right back as far as you can go, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you got
it
in
works out as a shilling, yeah.
palm of your hand.
It's a shilling, yeah.
You took the
That's
King's
what you
shilling.
are, yeah. I butted in.
No, that...
I had a word.
You did. It all fits, and I've told my son, I said, whatever these politicians tell you, if there is another... Well, we know we're under Third World War now. This is World War 3. We're in it now. We're living it, breathing it. It's going on all around us.
The war is for our minds. We've been told that by others, and it is. This is a war on for your mind, and we've tried to rescue some minds.
Yeah.
We've tried to rescue many minds, and they don't care to mind.
No,
they don't.
Armageddon is that translates to a war in the air.
It is. It
and,
is right.
And that is exactly what's going on through that. Is your war in the air through the internet is the war in the air.
We've had it confirmed by people who know more than we do.
Yeah,
and we're talking about solicitors and barristers and lawyers, and you've had it said to you World War III. It's already started.
Yes,
and
I
that
have.
was, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
That was 4 or 5 years ago
Yeah.
by a lady who was drowning her sorrows. She was well inebriated and a loose tongue, and she was and did work for the intelligence services.
Do you know, I can't remember what stories I've told. You know, I talk so much all day, every day. I can't remember what I said on last week's show or not. Now, I'm pretty sure I talked about the lady in red, didn't I?
You did, yes.
But did I talk about the tall gentleman? Did I talk about him? No, the fact that you're not remembering, maybe I didn't.
I did. No, you did. Yes,
Right.
towards the end of the yes.
Right, okay.
The end of the counter.
Right, well, I haven't had any more encounters yet.
He wandered past you.
Encounters. I haven't had any more encounters yet. Encounters. But I will have this week, because I always do. Because I chatter on and chatter on and chatter on, and I know that at the moment I do it with a smile on my face and try not to be offensive.
Yeah.
But I'm not winning any. I'm not winning any friends here.
No,
It's not working. I'm not. It's not achieving much. I'm picking up a few comments from people down the line, and the one thing that I am getting is confirmation too many times now that there is a level above us that knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I mentioned about the intelligentsia. We're not getting them involved. And I know why. Because they've worked out how to benefit. They've worked out how to benefit from our ignorance. But we can't all be winners.
No.
But did we always live like this? We don't know.
We don't.
But we don't know, do we? Have we always lived in this competitive winners and losers, makers and takers setup? Have we always? Well, we don't really know. That's the truth, we don't. We talk about the communities, we talk about places like York and whatever with the wall round and how the people of York must have lived together, worked together and, you know, obviously... But we don't know. It's all a fairy tale that may or may not be true.
Yeah,
I mean, history is littered with wars and deaths and schemes and plots and whatever.
And intrigue and murder
Exactly.
and all that kind of thing.
I mean, how much do we know is true? Well, we don't know how much is true.
No.
It's fair to say that all we can do is use what we can see. And that's what I use. But human nature is something that disappoints me. Because we are happy to see others suffer so we can have. Even on the smallest of scales. And I remember a conversation that I had about the starving. And how every year the BBC play the Children in Need thing to us.
They do.
And like ITV have got their own version sometime as well.
Yeah.
And they always show us the poor children in Africa and all over Africa.
Yeah.
And they always guilt us. And it is guilt.
Yeah.
To give something to help.
The drinking the dirty water.
That's right. And you know, water aid and that sort of thing. And why don't we get a little bit mad that we never run out of money to bomb brown people?
Yeah.
We never run out of money, right, to offer the House of Pain employees. I mean, what are they asking for? 32% this time?
Yeah.
They always start off with that craziness, don't they?
They do,
but
yeah.
We want I mean, who knows how much backhanders they're getting?
Ooh,
I know these people who work in the House of Pain, and I'm sticking with that now because I like it. I know who work... These people, right, they put on the show from the benches, right? And then I'm sure they go down to a subsidised bar, smoke the biggest cigars, and laugh at each other about how they've outfoxed each other today. Ha ha ha. Weren't expecting that one for you, my right honourable member. You see, they're not allowed to call each other liars, you know that, don't you?
You do, yeah.
And I actually said something before I went online, and I'm going to try it, I'm going to find out. Do politicians say please? And I don't know the answer here. But why I've thought of the question, I'm not sure. Because only slaves make please, don't they? Do politicians say the word please? I'm asking the questions because I'm not convinced I know the answer. Or what did I say last week, Nestle? I'll tell you next week. What was it? What was the word? Breakfast.
Breakfast, yeah.
Breakfast. Yeah, if you haven't worked out what breakfast is, it's pretty simple. It's how words are made. Break fast.
Yeah.
To fast is not to eat.
You fasted through the night. You've not eaten through the night.
Exactly. That's why they thought that fasting, starving yourself, would enhance your dreams. Because you dream at night time.
Yeah.
Because you don't eat when you're sleeping. They figured that the dreams came to you because you didn't eat. And this is only 400 years ago or so, this, you know. And they did. They almost bloody killed themselves trying to, strengthen these dreams and decode the messages. And they'd almost bloody kill themselves to do it. Thank God we've moved on. Have we moved on?
Have we?
Exactly, have we?
I
Do we still hallucinate when we don't eat?
had a conversation last night, like you were saying. I said, I don't believe a thing anymore. I don't believe anything that I'm told anymore.
Which starts with the word be lie.
It does, yeah.
You know, to be lie.
To be lie.
It doesn't promise you it's the truth. It promises that you can have it if you want, but it could be a lie. It does start with whatever. I think using the word believe is silly, and I think an opinion is of no value. So it's just best to say I think this could be true, and that leaves you really easily able to say it wasn't true, was it? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you've helped me with that, because now you've said that, you've changed my picture. Now you've changed what I can see. So if you leave yourself wide open for other people to say, I don't think you're right there, and I'll tell you why, and I'll say, good, I've been waiting for you. Because how many people speak like that?
Nobody that I know of.
No one, do they?
No.
I mean, how many times do we have to say, I want to be wrong?
I'm saying it more and more often now. I'd love to be wrong.
I don't know if I've said it before, I can't remember. At the end of my days, when I know that my time is coming, and I think we all do, I won't be worried. And I will have a little chat with the man upstairs. And when it ends, if the truth is right, the next step is you go see Peter. And he says, hello, matey. I'll say, hello, Peter. I was hoping you'd be here.
Why are they always men?
I don't know. Don't spoil it.
All right, sorry.
And if Peter says, what do you make of your time on Hell? And I'll say, I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was something that'll stay with me forever. And he'll say, we planned that for you. That was all designed for you. None of it was real. It was just your personal challenge. And because you took it, and you battled the forces, and the entities that you can't see, called evil, right? Okay, they're nothing else, right? I don't think they're anything else. You can leave an empty seat at the table for me. You can pretend that you're receiving instructions from some Baphomet named goat-shaped evil whatever. That's absolutely fine. You have it. I think the entity that just lives out of visible sight is bloody evil. And you can let him in whenever you want. It's up to you. That's what I actually believe could be true. At the moment it can be changed. But when Peter says, we set that up for you, lad. None of it was real. It was for you to see if you take the challenge. And well done. Well done. You're not on Xbox 360 anymore. We've got an Xbox 450 for you. Get up here and have a go at next level. And that just might be how it works. And if it isn't, I'll be dead. Yeah. I mean, we talk about these entities, and we talk about... Some people call them the jinn, don't they? They call them the jinn.
Oh, I've not heard that one.
Yeah,
No.
they call them the jinn.
The jinn.
Well, they're talking about spirits.
Oh, the spirit, of course, I see.
No,
the
not the
link with
drinking spirits. No,
Right.
no, the goyim, the jinn. The Jews call them the jinn.
Oh, I see,
Yeah,
right.
and the Muslims, I can't remember. I mean, I read so much stuff that I can't remember. Anyway, these entities that you just can't see, in one religion they're called the jinn. And they're spirits that empower you. And nobody has any idea why we drink bloody gin. The devil counterfeits bloody everything. The burning question definitely is, if we're going to turn this round, if we are going to try and swing this boat back around in our favour, how do you think we're going to do it? I mean, what would you say, if you had to make a list of things that we're going to have to do, what would be number one for you?
Stop the corruption.
We've got to face that corruption. We've got to face the corruption. And we've got to accept that the school never did promise to educate our children in the things they needed. It promised to educate them in the things that it needed them to know.
Needed them to know, yeah.
And I think the third thing is a clear and concise understanding that politics isn't for us.
It isn't.
It isn't. And the money system, it's not designed for us at all, is it?
And some smart-ass people maybe listening will say, What do you want then? Do you want a dictatorship then?
Well, I think we want whatever the amount of people who are prepared to stand up and say what they want are going to get.
We want honest people running it, don't we? We need honest people.
Have we ever had honest people? Well,
No.
I don't know. No, it hasn't. You see,
Don't think we have.
I mean, this isn't new what's going on. The books we read confirm it's been going on for some time. I'm just finishing Machiavelli's The Prince. Hundreds of years ago. It's describing different methods of invading and controlling countries.
Yep.
Not a very exciting read, I must say. I've ploughed through it because it's a small book. Would I recommend you read it?
He was one of the Borgias, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We know what that...
Yeah, I wouldn't read it if you want to, but I'm not going to tell you it's a cliffhanger.
No.
Okay, it's not a cliff, but I've read it anyway. What I'm confirming for myself is the only thing new in this whole deal is the people who find it.
Yeah.
All right, it's always been this way. The only positive that we have to take from this is the fact that we can share information at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And the internet, although I've been knocking it all the time, it still is available for us to use for good. Now, I don't want to knock the names that we know and love, and I'm not going to, because I've interviewed most of them.
Mm-hmm.
We've had all the big names on, haven't we?
Yep.
And
there's a few we'd like to have, but whether they'd come on or not, we don't know.
we've had all the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
We're only missing Mr. Ike.
Yeah,
In the big names,
in the big
we're only
names,
missing
yeah.
Mr. Ike, and from what I understand, you don't ask Mr. Ike. He decides.
Yeah.
And chooses you if he wants to come on.
And quite right as well.
And he's quite tight. I have no problems with that. As well.
I have no problems with that.
Anyway, I would love to speak to David Icke, but I'm not going to be upset if I never do.
Me neither.
So, back to what I was saying. We have spoken to most of the big names that everyone knows and loves. And be careful here. But what conclusion have we come to?
Yes, we've got to be careful
I thought I'd
here.
pass that to you.
There's no real answer really.
Well,
it needs all of us.
You've been very careful here, aren't you?
It needs all of us to come to the same understanding, and whether we will all achieve that understanding is as big a question as how did we all get here and where are we going.
We're all selling ice cream.
Yeah.
And everybody wants their flavour to be the right flavour to crack this.
Yeah.
They want, and the fact of the matter is, it's putting it all together that's going to be the key. Now, I think over the years of study that we've now done and the books that we've read, I've come to the definite conclusion that I do feel I'm going to be comfortable with, and that is that all I've learned so far has got me to this point.
Yeah.
And all I've learned so far is now behind me. It's behind me. I want to create and go forwards. And to create and go forwards means I have to leave behind what I know and take what I need. Because I can't carry it all.
Yeah.
Does it just make sense?
It does, yeah. Your Bergen's full.
Yeah.
Full of the things you need.
And we need to be out there now. And we need to learn to be teachers. And I don't think we know how to do that.
No, I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah,
how to put it across to people.
How to be teachers.
Yeah.
How can we get people to listen to us? Now, you and I have got a unique way of decoding the words. And for me, it's been the most successful way to get people to listen to me.
Yeah.
But they don't take the depth from it.
No.
They don't see the depth that I'm trying to show them. They don't see that the words, the language we use today, isn't new.
No, it isn't.
It
goes
it's
back.
the language that's always been here, but this is the best version they need right now. And every connection and every word is made from languages that previously existed.
Yeah.
But once we learn that the languages that previously existed were designed to do exactly the same as this one is doing, which is to make us think and act in a certain way.
All the same.
Well, it's
in the global village.
It's an upgrade. And the language we're using now is coming to an end. And the next language is the language of computer land.
It is, that's it.
And these are the things that we haven't quite got yet.
The global. If you're in a global village,
You're all going to speak the same
you've all
language.
got to speak the same language, which is, you said, is computer language.
And that is exactly what's going to happen.
The dumb version of it.
I don't know about the dumb version, but this is the new language. This is the global village with a global language, with a global communication system, with a global military system, and it will have the global control system. This is it. It fits all the criteria.
Don't read your books. Get your books online. Get them online. Get them on your Kindle. And
Exactly.
But we've said, haven't we? We've got to be careful with that because they can change what. They could change anything from one person reading one book to reading another book to whatever your
I know.
Google profile fits.
3 minutes to go, my friend. 3 minutes to go. It is an interesting Tuesday, a little bit different to what we normally do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, really. Thanks to Sam for joining us all the way from the Falklands.
Yes, thank you to
8,000
Sam.
miles away. And he gave us a little bit of what it feels like to be a Falklander.
Mm-hmm.
Or British, as they call it.
Yeah.
See you all next week, guys and girls.
Cheers. Good night.